Okay, so we're going to talk about a two-part versus a one-part vinyl decal install. Before we get into it too much, I want to talk about why it's necessary. Basically, there's a lot of real cool products out there, a lot of cool vinyls, a lot of cool colors, and people have special needs. We don't want to say no, you can't put carbon fiber on red, even though it's pretty difficult to print that. The best way to get a true vibrant red with a cool carbon fiber look is to take a red background and put the carbon fiber on it. So this is a two-part install, and we're going to show you how you do that. It's not always necessary. For example, on the other side of this here, we've got, so on a one-part decal, again, it's a simpler install. It's the way to go, unless there are color requirements that you're looking for that are going to require a two-part. And again, on a two-part, you'd first lay down the red, then we'd come back with the carbon fiber, and you have it. You install that, and you have your two-part installation. So let's dig into it. We're going to show you how to do both of these methods right now. Okay, the first thing we need to do is, as I said, get our math right, get our measurements. So I know that I have a sign here that's 22 inches by 22 inches. So what I want to do basically is I'm going to make a big X right across this sign right here. And so that's going to be like center marks the spot. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this decal, so that when I go to align this up, I've got points that I can line my decal up with. That's one method. The other method, and I'm going to do both on this, is going to be to actually put myself a mark on the sign here so that I got something to kind of line this up with. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to measure my sign, and it's like say 22 inches. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put myself a mark at 11, and I'm doing this right on the edge of the sign up here. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing down here at the bottom, and I'm going to do the same thing on my two sides. All right, so now I'm going to take this off so that we can clearly see what we're working on here. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my straight edge, and this is just an old sign that we've cut up. You can use anything, a yardstick, ruler, as long as it's a square, as long as it's big enough to go line to line so you can get your little X drawn on here. And I'm just lining this up on my two lines that I put at the top and the bottom, and I'm drawing myself a line here. And that's pretty much going to represent the center of this sign. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my, I guess you could call, horizontal line. Same thing, this just represents pretty much dead center where that decal is going to go. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the decal that I'm applying. Again, I've already marked it out, but you got to find someplace. This is a little bit different than a square, because a square is easy. You can just go edge to edge, and find your center, put your two lines, and draw your straight edge. This, as you can see, has a lot of shape to it. So how do I find where my center's at when this is rounded? If I move my tape measure just a little bit, I'm off here. I usually like to find little points like these here. So I just find my little point right there, and I measure from there to there, and I come up with, in this case, it's about 9 3/4 of an inch. So again, I just find the center part, I put a mark there, and I come to the same spot on the decal down here. If you don't have something, because I have those points, sometimes you may not have it. Maybe it's a round decal. At that point, you just have to get it as close as you can. You got to find the widest point there and get that mark there, and like I say, and then just square it from there. But you got to get this X on here as good as you can to where that's going to ensure that our decal is nice and square when we install it. So again, here I'll take my straight edge, and I'm going to go all the way to the top of my masking tape, not just the decal. I want to cover all the tape. All right, so the next thing I want to do, I'm almost done with the measuring here, and I know this, guys, this is a lot, but this is the best way to ensure that you get a nice square install. And again, I'm working with a square sign. You could be working on the door of a vehicle or whatever. Wherever it is, you have to find that perfectly square X marks the spot location that you want to line this up. And you can already see what's going to happen. See, that's not right. But if we take this and that's looking pretty straight, but look, we're off up and down. This gives us the absolute spot to line that decal up and get it right where we want it. And it's important to do that. Now I'm going to go one step further, because during the install process I can do this because it slides around, it's real easy to move, there's no water or application fluid or anything else hindering me. But there's a little trick here that makes it a little bit easier. If we put this right where we want it, I'm on my lines. As you can see, I'm lined up here and I'm lined up here. Now I'm going to take my tape measure. I'm going to measure from the top of my sign down to the top of that decal. We're going to say 4 1/8. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I'm just going to set this to the side, and I'm going to come down from the top, and I'm going to put myself a mark at 4 1/8. And what this is going to do is, while I'm installing this decal, it's going to give me a really good start point to lay that decal down when I have my application and fluid stuff down. Again, if you're spot on, it's going to be spot on when you do the install. But what we want is we want to be able to line that up, which you can't see yet, but when I'm just to my tape, I can, and it'll end up putting me right smack dab where I'm supposed to be here. All right, so this decal, this portion of this two-part install is now done. We'll get into the second part in just a minute, but it's basically going to be doing the same thing. The only difference is I'll be at that point using this as my surface, so I'll have to find my center mark on this surface, and I'll do the same thing when I do that decal there. So we're going to go ahead and get this sprayed down with some application fluid and apply this decal. Okay, so I want to note that I've already done all that good stuff that our other videos show. I've cleaned my surface with alcohol, and I've got it all prepped. I'm ready to go. We've got it marked out. So now what I'm using is I'm just using my application fluid, and I'm going to just spray not a ton in this particular application, but you want enough that it's forgiving in case you do need to move something, but yet not so much that it's going to take forever to dry so I can remove my decal. Got that sprayed on there. I'm going to peel my backing off, and again, I don't peel the tape off the paper. I peel the paper off the tape, and that does make a difference. So you just pull that tape back, hold the tape or paper back while you're holding the tape. I'm kind of holding it in a U, as you can see there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line my line up, my center line, and I'm going to put that top mark right in the shot there where I had it. So you can see my lines are all pretty close. I'm off just a smidgen here. And again, you can be as fussy as you want. You can use more application fluid. The important thing is, again, guys, if you're this close, I'm off by maybe a 32nd of an inch on this top line here. It's twisted just a teeny bit, but when you take those lines off, you're never going to see that. That's a good install right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my squeegee and I'm going to work the bubbles and everything out. And again, the main thing you need to understand is this is part one of the part two process. Is we've got this decal installed in the right spot. That's the main thing we're working on in this particular video. So by using that marking method, we've got this decal centered and placed on our sign or door or whatever you're working on in exactly the right spot. So right now I'm just pushing all those water bubbles out, which takes the air with them. Some will be left behind, but if you do a good job right here, the bulk of them can go, and those that are left behind over time will disappear, especially as the sun hits it and does its magic. So another good reason to use application fluid is because air doesn't dry, water does, and it just helps with those bubbles. Normally, I would recommend that you leave this set good 10-20 minutes. And then come back and peel it off. It'd just be easier, but I didn't use a lot of application fluid, which made it a little less forgiving during the install, but it means I can remove it a little faster. And now I'm going to just carefully try to remove this, and hopefully my decal will stay where it belongs. So again, I'm holding my tape down tight, and I'm just pulling it straight back. Now, one thing I want to do, because this is just a little cheat, you could do the math all over again with this decal, but I've already got my X on here, so I'm going to take, and there's no reason that we have to remove this tape and then come back and measure it all out again and get the main surface marks back there. So I'm going to peel this back just a little bit on each one of these, and I'm going to make sure that I got myself a good mark on this decal so that I'm basically marking the same thing on the decal surface itself now that I put on the surface, this white surface for this part. Watching very close that I'm not pulling the decal up anywhere as I do this. If it starts to come up, just simply put it back down, and you can work it back down. Okay, and again, this didn't turn out too bad. There's a few bubbles, but I'm going a little faster than I should. But these will work out. And again, you can pinprick those, or like I say, if you just leave it set, most of those are going to dissipate really quick, and over time they all will. All right, so that's the end of the first step of a two-part process of applying decal. So now what we need to do is we need to put the second part on. We're going to repeat what we did. Now, so here's the second part. It's going to go on top of this one right here. Same basic thing. We really want to make sure that we're centered on our red. Our carbon fiber needs to be nice and perfectly centered, so you got a nice reveal. And this isn't square. It's not a simple thing. It's got a lot of different shapes. So the way we do that is the exact same way we did that there. We have our center marks of this decal here, so we know where center is there. And we come back and we do the same thing. We measure this. We find our center between those 2 points there, and we put ourselves a little line. And then we're going to take our straight edge and again draw that center point. So I'll grab my straight edge. Again, this can be anything as long as it's straight, so that you can get a nice straight line all the way across the decal. Alright. The horizontal you want to use to make sure you got it up and down the way it's supposed to be versus the side to side. So I have that. Now I'm going to set this aside for just a second, and I'm going to put my lines on my background. And I'm not going to go all the way because this is actually our vinyl surface, and I don't want to have to wipe all of that pencil off. I just want to make sure that I get enough on there that I can use it for my decal. Should do it. For decal, and the same thing, I'm going to line it up here, guys, to where I have it centered on my center lines and measure to the top of my decal. So now I know where I want the top of that to end up. So I'm going to go ahead now and peel the backing off of this. I'm going to do it on a dry surface this time so my ink don't smear. Now I'll take my application fluid, put a good bit on there this time, so it should be a little bit more forgiving. Alright, so now I'm going to line that black mark right there up with this. Alright, now we can squeegee. Alright, so we've let this set about 5 minutes. I think it should be good enough. I'm going to come back, I'm going to squeegee it one more time, and then we'll come back and we'll just start peeling it off again. Again, really watching these small delicate borders, because those are the areas that are going to give us the trouble. A pretty cool looking decal, but it's this way because we use the specialty vinyl that can't just be printed onto the red. Okay? Pay close attention to how it's centered. It's all looking right. It's all good there. It's all about the math.